unless urgent action is taken by pharmaceutical corporations and rich country governments, 9 out of 10 people in poor countries are not going to receive a vaccine next year and possibly for years to come. Doesn't have to be a competition between poor countries and rich countries in terms of who gets the vaccine if we fix that supply problem. And to do that, we need pharmaceutical corporations to share their vaccine science and know-how, transfer their technology so that more manufacturers can come on board and get involved in that mass production that we need to see.
Let's cross now to Dr. Faisal Shuaib. He's Executive Director at the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and joins me now from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Dr. Shuaib, it's a pleasure having you on with us here at Money Talk. So the World Health Organization's Covax initiative has so far secured, I believe, around 200 million vaccines. Those are for developing countries, including Africa, which has a population of more than 1.2 billion. Meanwhile, countries like Canada and the UK have too many vaccines for its residents. Does it anger you to hear that wealthy countries are basically hoarding the coronavirus vaccine?
One thing that is clear is that this pandemic affects developed and developing countries alike, and that unless we ensure that the virus is eradicated everywhere, then there's nowhere that is safe. So it is important that there's equitable supply of vaccines, irrespective of the ability of the countries to pay. We acknowledge the efforts of the World Health Organization, Gavi, and CEPI in trying to, through the Covax facility, get vaccines for developing countries, and that is going to be very critical in the ability of developing countries to access these vaccines.
Well, what do you think would be the challenges in rolling out the vaccine on the continent of Africa? And does it concern you to consider how equitable distribution will be?
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine that because at this stage of the pandemic, when we're just beginning to see the vaccine candidates become available, the demand outstrips the supply. But we can understand that further down the line, a few months down the line, when the production capacity increases, that there will be more vaccines available for countries. So even though the Covax facility has just been able to secure about 200 million doses, we're aware, because we're plugged into the conversations with 91 other economies, that this groundbreaking Covax arrangement is engaging with pharmaceutical companies and important organizations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are also plugged into these conversations to make sure that that in the end all countries have access to these vaccines. We're not going to be able to eradicate this virus. There's nothing like half or partial eradication. For us to eradicate this virus, every country has to work together because of the interconnectedness of the global community. Unless we work together and ensure equitable supply of these vaccines, then we're going to be here for a very long while in terms of the pandemic. For us to rapidly bring life back to near normal, then we have to focus on how we can not only get the vaccines to all countries, but make sure that they're able to deliver the vaccines to the rural areas, to the most difficult people, the most vulnerable people, people that live in where we call the last mile.
Of course, as you mentioned, a unified approach on this is pivotal. Is there anything to be learned, you think, for the way the vaccines for diseases like polio were rolled out in places like Nigeria?
Absolutely. So one thing that we've learned from the polio eradication fight is that very early on, we have to engage with communities, ensure that there's community buy-in. This is why early in Nigeria, and this is happening also in other African countries, even before the vaccine arrives, we're already engaging with the gatekeepers, with local leaders. And even when you look at what is happening in countries such as the United States, in the United Kingdom, where you find people saying that they don't want the vaccine, it is only because that communication has not been robust enough. So you have these anti-vaccine movements that are occurring all over the world. What we have learned from the polio eradication journey, of course, is that you have to engage very early. We did not do this with the polio eradication. That is why for a long time in the mid-2000s, we had anti-polio oral polio vaccine elements. But by the time we took several steps back, engaged with local leaders, engaged with religious leaders, then we began to see people accept the vaccine. And at the same time, we tried as much as possible to address other health challenges. It's going to be tough, but I believe that working together as one global community, we can provide the right information to those people who have sentiments against the vaccine, build the trust that is necessary, and you will begin to see that some of the lessons we've learned in polio, with Ebola outbreak, will come to bear in terms of making sure that people know that there is a real responsibility on the part of health workers and a real commitment on the part of health workers to deliver safe and potent vaccines to all people globally.
Dr. Faisal Shuaib, it's been a real honor chatting with you. We wish you and Nigeria the best of luck. Thanks again.